How you doing? My name is Roshan. I am the organizing director with the Pure Justice Organization, and right now it's Fair Housing Awareness Month. I am here with Brother Ray, and we want to talk to you about some of the experiences that we have went through, or Brother Ray have went through, from having a criminal record and dealing with housing. So, Brother Ray, is there anything you like to say about yourself before we go into the interview?
Sure. So thank you for having me, Brother Rashad. Rashawn, I'm sorry. I call you Rose, so I'll be forgetting. But yeah, I've been a resident of Houston for the better part of about 15 years. I was actually originally a Katrina evacuee, so I'm what you would call a climate justice refugee. And basically, I've learned and kind of navigated the Houston culture, and I've really grown to love the people. The legislative part, that leaves a little bit to be desired, but we'll get into that. But thank you for having me, Rashawn.
Absolutely. So before we get into housing, I want to ask you first, do you have a criminal record? You don't have to go into your criminal record or what it is, but do you have one?
Unfortunately, I have to say yes, I do.
Okay, and with that criminal record, have it impacted how you live or you actually being able to find adequate housing?
Most definitely. It has limited greatly the properties, the communities that are deemed acceptable for a person who is formerly incarcerated. Oftentimes when you walk into the office, you look and you see, what the staff looks like. You see the type of people that come in to pay their rent. You kind of already view what type of community you're dealing with. And I found even some of the communities that aren't, top of the line communities can be quite stringent in their qualifications of what they feel to be an acceptable tenant.
Right.
So they have a very stringent process that they use to screen out people they think are, going to bring down their property value, or basically they're going to make the other tenants feel uncomfortable.
So, like with my experience, right? I've been to apartment complexes, and I'm not gonna say any apartment complex names, but they look pretty run down, and they were terrible. I'm talking about terrible, but yet they still would not give me the opportunity to live in their apartments because of my criminal record. So when you talk about bringing, somebody that won't bring down the value, what can you say about apartments that it's already kind of like slumlordish? I mean, and again, not to throw no shade on apartments, but I have found it extremely hard to get into places that it really don't even seem like it should be this hard, like getting a place to live in this apartment. So how hard has it been for you to get a place to live?
I actually went all over Houston from northwest side to the southwest side. And I kind of tend to stay more in the Hobby 45 area, because when I came to Houston, this is the area that I was more familiar with. But even in those properties, I found that some other properties, even in the Sunnyside area, I heard things about how they won't allow people with background checks that come up a certain way. And what's interesting about this is, when you walk into an office, I don't know, most people who probably watch this have probably been through the process. When you walk to an office, first thing they want you to do is fill out an application, of course. But then there's an application fee.
Right.
And then you have to basically hand them money to tell you if you qualify to live at this establishment. So already, if you're a person who's barely making it,
right,
and you're looking desperately, maybe you might have went to 2 or 3 other properties, and every time you go to look for an apartment, you have to fill out an application fee
and pay for it.
And pay for it.
That's yeah. well, how about this, right? When a property owner, apartment manager, homeowner tell someone that they can't live in a particular area because of a criminal record, do you think that that ensures safety for that community by not housing people with criminal records in certain areas?
Let me tell you something. I've heard multiple reports of Uber drivers who previously had no criminal record.
Mm-hmm.
And these people had assaulted their riders. Now, they had no criminal record. There was no indication that they would be capable of such an act.
Right.
So a criminal record in and of itself, whether it's there or not, will not guarantee a person's ability to commit a heinous act. As a matter of fact, I think that a person with a criminal record might be safer because they already have a mark on them.
Right.
So if anything, they're going to do their best to stay in the clear and not make trouble for you because it's already hard enough to find an apartment.
Right.
So
I agree.
that theory is moot, in my opinion.
I agree, 200%. So when we talk about fair housing, like, what does that even mean to you? Or what does it look like?
Fair housing, first of all, is affordable. Now, let's look at what affordability is. I've looked around Houston. It's hard to find anything decent for under $800. So you have to look at the economic situation of the people that you're trying to rent to. Is this person working a minimum wage job? Are they making $40,000 a year? You know, do they have their own transportation? You know, are they between jobs? Have they been established with their company for a while? There's a lot of factors that go into that. And to me, fair housing is when a person can walk into an office with a clean slate and basically say, hey, I want an apartment. I really like the community and I have the means to pay for it. So that should be it.
Right.
Period.
I mean, my personal opinion, I truly believe when it comes to housing, it shouldn't even be a box. Like, for anybody to look at your past on what you were sucked into, because they don't know if you were guilty or not of a crime because of a criminal record. So to me, I believe, like, when it comes to housing, we shouldn't even have that box. You know, like, it shouldn't even be on the application. People shouldn't even be able to look to see, you know, what kind of criminal record you may have had 5 and 10 and 20 or 30 years ago. You know, but that's me. Like, let me ask you this. When it comes to, say, fair housing, if there was a real so-called system of fair housing where, you know, there were no box, you know, where there were affordable housing, not from the average or the minimum of a geographic location, but a fair housing where people could actually afford it that make minimum wage. You know, like, with people having adequate housing, do you think fair housing, adequate housing, will create a safer environment?
Absolutely. I think that because when people feel like they're in a safe environment, in a community that they care about, people tend to want to protect that. You know, just like some of the more well-to-do communities. They love their communities, they want to protect their communities. But if you're in a community where you feel like everybody is just stuck here because they don't have anywhere better to go, and then they're already down on their luck, the property management doesn't manage the property well, you know, they let it go to hell just because they say these people are just happy to have a place to stay. You know, that's another thing. You know, like you say, there are properties that aren't the greatest, but they still say, oh, we don't know if you can live here or not because of that thing you did back then. You know,
right.
And one thing, you know, everybody needs a place to stay.
Right.
Housing is a need. It's a basic human need.
Right. I
so
mean,
to tell somebody you're not good enough to have a roof over your head, that's a special kind of cruelty.
Straight up.
to me.
So it's like no housing, higher crime. Housing, put me in a position to where I'm not as vulnerable to do things that may create an environment that may take a higher rise in crime. So like if I got housing, I don't have to go do certain things because I am safe. I feel protected. I got a place I can take a shower and wash my head.
Right, but affordable housing as well, because we live in a society right now where people are paying up to 60% of their income just for rent.
Right.
That's another issue.
That's sad.
But I mean, I want to stick to the format you set, but I basically feel like fair housing basically does not discriminate on backgrounds, does not discriminate on ethnic factors, and hell, even sometimes does not discriminate on economic values, because I think there should be, more resources put into housing. We have all these taxes that we pay, sales taxes, municipal taxes, homeowners taxes. There's a tax for everybody. If you're lucky, you might be rich enough to avoid most of them. But for most of us, we ain't so lucky.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to pay a tax somewhere. So all these taxes that we're paying need to go to something that's actually worth helping the community. And I think housing is that one thing.
So if you had one message that you can give to homeowners, landowners, property owners that you believe that they can do to ensure safe communities, what would it be?
Wow, that's a heavy question, because basically at that point I'd be lobbying. All I could say is that, look, people make mistakes. And if you look back at who you were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you were judged based on something you did, do you think you would deserve to live here if somebody found out? I feel like those without sin throw the first stone. We all have skeletons in our closet. But some of us, we might have got caught up, like you said. They don't know if you're guilty or not guilty.
Right.
We might have got caught up in a situation.
I must say, I'm going to reiterate, and I continuously say this, but a guilty plea or a criminal record don't equate to guilt. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to say, Brother Ray?
I just want to say, look, y'all, the people that we elect for our community, they have a responsibility to us. And it's up to us as the community to hold them accountable. Now, I don't know if you're a political person or not, but you might know somebody who's struggling because of the policies happening now. So I urge you, when this pandemic is over, or even during the pandemic, because we have Zoom meetings, you need to get in the faces of these people, your city council people. You need to get in the face of your commissioners. You need to get in the face of your state legislators. These are the people that hold the keys, literally hold the keys to actually making the changes we need. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you, Rashad.
Absolutely. Well, again, it's Fair Housing Awareness Month, and if we want to make our community safer, the best thing to do, or the best way to go about it, is to ensure everybody have a place to live, a place to rest their head. So thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, and follow the Pure Justice Facebook fan page. Until next time.